As the scene starts, we see a man getting stabbed in his heart by a woman. The woman has a cold look in her eyes, as if she doesn't feel any emotion in her heart while killing the man. The man coughs blood. He compliments the woman, saying, "She is still beautiful because he cannot possess her." With this, Deculaeon was killed, and the condition for the nullification of engagement was completed. The scenes that we saw earlier was our MC playing a game and clearing a stage. He is glad that the game is not crashing anymore. He says that he put in all this effort for this one guy named Deculaeon von Grahan Ukraine, whose primary occupation is the head professor in the game. Our MC finally fixed the bug that kept happening in the nullification of engagement route. His name is Kim Woojin, and he is a game developer at console game development studio named Ru. In South Korea, known to be a wasteland when it came to console games, Ru appeared like a storm and pumped out hit games one after the other. Soon enough, it became a studio that everyone in the world knew about. The game that Kim Woo-jin is testing right now is an a game that Ru poured all of their investments and profits into until now. In other words, they're fucked if this game doesn't do well. The essence of this game is that its difficulty and story will change depending on the player's choices. Maybe that is why, but despite the fact that it is a single-player game, its highly advanced AI and named characters have been getting much attention from the community. On top of that, there are a surplus of classes such as Knight, Mage, Explorer, Demon, Demon Hunter, Noble, King, and more. Thanks to the refreshing variety of roles, the players have freedom to be whoever they wish in the game. To put it simply, if this game does well, they will be raking in money. Keeping all of these in mind, Kim Woo-jin again checks the character settings. Woo-jin says again that the reason he has been working overtime for the last few months is because of this character named Deculaeon von Grahan Ukraine, the main character of the episode. Woo-jin finally managed to clear the bugs from Deculaeon's death. Deculaeon von Grahan Ukraine, one of the intermediate bosses of this game and also a named villain. There were countless errors they had to fix because of all the routes possible with this character, and Woo-jin finally managed to kill him without anything going wrong. The reason for Deculaeon's death in this route is a stab wound by fiancee. As he is stretching his hands, a girl calls him from the back, asking how the test is going on. This person is the team leader of the development team Woo-jin is in. Her name is the Yu-ara. She's also Kim Woo-jin's ex-girlfriend. They had been together for 7 years. They felt happiness in all the time they spent together and all. Our MC is naturally lazy, but unlike him, she's a born workaholic. Her ambitions helped her become a better person. However, they broke up in the end. Woo-jin realizes that ultimately he couldn't change despite her efforts. 6 months after that, he heard she had someone new by her side. Yu-ara says that she heard that Woo-jin is struggling because of the bugs. Woo-jin replies by saying that he guesses all things are going well with her new man. Yu-ara says that the rumors spread so fast in this company. Well, she thinks it's going well. On the contrary, Woo-jin thinks that it doesn't feel good to hear it directly from her. He says that he wishes she gets married to that guy. She tells him to stop being so petty and keep it the bugs and informs him that he is gonna need to make some changes. Since some things were changed on the story's end, are you sure he's an intermediate boss? He seems really killable, though, Woo-jin asks. He thinks, that's both the game and Deculaeon's charm. The more the scenario progresses, the stronger Deculaeon becomes. The difficulty of the game depends on the player's choices, after all. Yu-ara asks whether Woo-jin knows that his character was modeled after him. In fact, both of them look alike. Woo-jin replies that he only met the artist twice. Yu-ara mentions that's why she kills Deculaeon as soon as she meets him in-game. Moreover, their personalities are similar too. Jin thinks that Decalene's last words are, "You damned bitch." How are we similar? He wonders. Yuara then asks about the game experience. He replies that the game itself is fun, but he doesn't like that the fate of the studio's hanging on this game. Then, while looking at the window, he asks, "Isn't that your little boyfriend over there?" He says that since her boyfriend is waiting for her, she shouldn't keep him waiting for long, because it's already so late at night. Jin tells her to go to him. Yuara tells him good luck. On the other hand, he tells her goodbye. After Sarah's departure, he says that he will test Decalene again. He blames the artist for being harsh. "You're telling me this guy is me?" He nags. He looks into Decalene's attributes, which total comprises 6 attributes. Jin explains that, when Decalene was a child, he was called a magical genius and put on a pedestal. However, he was just like any other average mage, and because of his arrogance and background of nobility, he ended up with the worst personality: elitism, regular habits, competitiveness, noble etiquette, sensitivity, authority pretense and composure, and many more. Would Decalene even be considered human? Jin wonders. He thinks that Decalene is supposed to get stronger as the scenario goes on, but he's already surrounded by those who hate him. Jin decides to add attributes or personality traits to Decalene, something that isn't too conspicuous. He makes Decalene somewhat wealthy. He adds skills like comprehension, Midas touch, sharp eyesight, and lastly, Iron Man, which makes the body hard like iron. He ended up just adding all the ones that looked good. But now that he is done, he feels a bit ashamed, so he decides to revert Decalene back to how he originally was before a problem occurs. Suddenly, a message appears, which startled Jin for a second. He sees that the message is from the story writer. He asks whether he has to change something about the model because he can do it right now. The story writer previously said he was just taking a look. Jin gets a little confused upon hearing it, so he asks the story writer whether he is referring to the finished model. The story writer laughs and tells him to look outside the window. Jin immediately looks outside the window, and he witnesses something out of the ordinary. A hole in the sky appears, and in mere moments, Jin's soul gets transferred to a body. He wonders, where is he and who is he? He entered someone else's consciousness. He listens to a person telling him that, "So child, do not forget, be wary of him always. Decalene is no tame man. He may be hesitant now, but he can do something at any moment. He's just downplaying his own talents right now. He is a vile villain." Jin wakes up hearing a girl yelling. She tells Decalene to get up right now. "How long are you gonna sleep? How can you call yourself a person?" she asks. As Jin comes to his senses, he realizes that it's been a few days since he has possessed this body. He says that it still seems like a dream to him. The girl, who seems to be Decalene's sister, asks him for how long he is gonna stay cooped up because of some woman, or is he trying to shame the entire household? Jin can't say anything and just ignores her. Lastly, before leaving the room, she tells him that she will leave the papers here, so he must move if he doesn't want to get fired. Jin concludes that after the day the strange-looking sky appeared, he woke up in this strange body, in a strange place. It's already been a week since then. Precisely, he is in the world of the game he made while he was a developer at Rue. The somewhat familiar scenery has made that certain. He transmigrated as the worst character in the game who cannot escape death no matter what. A man fated to die. Certainly he became the villain Decalene. At Uclane Manor, Decalene's bedroom. It's already been a week since Jin possessed Decalene's body. He thought all of this was a dream. At first, but as a few passed by, this realistic feeling of life made me finally accept the truth. Could this be some kind of afterlife because I died from that lightning strike? He wonders. Well, whatever. One thing's for sure that he has now literally become the villain of the game he was once developing. Deculayan von Grahan Euclane. He's the middle boss in the game, no matter which route you take. He's the root of all problems, the enemy of everyone, and has caused pain for countless characters. Just why did he have to end up as a named villain? Wu Jin thinks. Another big issue is that Wu Jin has no idea which part of the story he is in at the moment. The only thing he knows is the total amount of mana he possesses. Even so, he doesn't know how fast it runs out. He says that we can't prepare for anything like this. He is not joking when he say that. Everyone, including himself, tested the game around 1,000 times during development, and this character only survived once. He's nothing but a villain created solely to die and serve his purpose as the middle boss. He looks at the document that the girl left. It's a document from the university he teaches as a professor. The girl we saw yelling at Deculayan previously is Yariel von Grahan Euclane. The woman who threw this bunch of paper while he was sleeping is Deculayan's half-sister and the one serving as the head of House Euclane in Deculayan's place. A thing to note is that both of them doesn't have a good relationship with each other. The woman that Yariel spoke of previously is probably Julie. Wu Jin says that he is assuming that Deculayan currently had something happen with his fiancée, Julie. He remembers Yariel saying that she is leaving him with these documents, so if he doesn't want to get fired from his fancy professor job, he should get up right now. From now on, Wu Jin has completely become Deculayan. So moving forward, he would be referred to as Deculayan. He says that he should go because the lecture is today. He has never given any lectures before, so he has to do something to gather more information. A primary survival side quest appears, which tells him to become necessary to the game. The words floating above his face as he woke up, and because of what Yariel said, that he feels like he should get moving. There are ways for Deculayan to die because of Yariel. Anyway, he thinks that store currency is quite important. One might worry about what to do in the lecture, but it's fine for him, since this body has the attribute comprehension. It is a unique grade skills, which has the ability to understand anything. It can be activated by consuming mana. Before he became Deculayan, he gave Deculayan this attribute, so that he'd gain a little empathy. As it's a unique grade attribute that only appears later in the game, there are probably hidden effects which are unknown for him now. These clothes and the bathroom feel unfamiliar, but he can make use of them without much thought. It feels like he has lived as Deculayan all his life. Usually he would feel out of place if he wears clothes like these, but right now they feel elegant and brings him comfort. This is another one of Deculayan's attributes, comprising intimidation, dignity, and aesthetic sense. It's as if it's telling him that this body is his now. As he is walking, he don't even feel like saying anything that would be considered rude. The formality that Kim Woo-jin once found rigid now feels natural. Although his main purpose is to gather information, this walk toward his first lecture feels nothing but natural because now he has become a noble superior member of the nobility, Kim Woo-jin. A completely regular man from South Korea, objectively tall and handsome, and to quote someone before he broke up with them, that's him. He decides not to lose himself. He realizes that he can't let his guard down even for once. As he gets inside this luxurious car, he thinks that he has been in such a nice car before, and just thinking about this nice car makes him remember some unpleasant memories of the past, which still pisses him off. He notices that a little guy is sitting next to him. The little guy nervously greets the professor while handing him some papers. "Hey, are you a wizard?" Deculayan asks. The little guy shockingly replies, saying that he is not a wizard and that he has been in Deculayan's service for 3 years already. Deculayan says that he is just joking. He looks into the document. At first he thought it was a lecture material, But now as he looks into it, it's just a script for him to read. It contains all the information needed for the lecture, from start to finish. He guesses there was no way Decalin prepared the material himself, considering how prideful and untalented he is. So he concludes that this little guy must have done all the work. Wu Jin can't even say the word good properly. He finds it extremely, but nevertheless, he says that the guy has done a good job. Even the driver gets shocked by seeing that Decalin is giving someone a compliment. Just how much of a terrible person am I? I feel sick from having complimented another person. Is this Deculian's true self? Wu Jin thinks. He felt this as he was leaving the manor, but it seems that Deculian's consciousness is invading his own. They arrive at the Imperial University, which is Deculian's workplace. Previously, he received a letter from the Imperial University, and a place, named Rotio Hall, was noted. He thinks that he has to go to the Rotio Hall to give the lecture. The students at the Rotio Hall, which is also the lecture hall, are waiting for their professor, Deculain. They say that they finally get to listen to head Professor Deculain's lecture. Some of them heard that Professor Deculain was the master of spell interpretation and was apparently a child prodigy. At that moment, among countless gossiping, Deculain enters, drawing everyone's attention. He introduces himself as Deculain von Grahan Uklein. He says that he has taken this class as the head professor of the university's magic tower, and for now, he will begin the lecture. The girls in the hall are mesmerized by Professor Deculain. They admire how handsome he is. They find Deculain smart and cool as a professor, as the girls are fawning over Deculain's beauty. There is one girl who is enraged. She crumbles up the paper in her hand to ease her anger as she is finally able to meet the enemy of her father. In her eyes, Deculain is nothing but a trash bastard. 3 years ago, her father killed himself. For many years, he conducted research on spell interpretation, but due to the shock he received when someone extorted his thesis out of him, he fell into complete despair and chose death. The person who stole that thesis was called the genius spell interpreter by the people. Yes, that trash person was none other than Deculain. However, she couldn't do anything, because after her father passed away, she lost everything. She, who was born as a noble, lost everything that was of value, including her family's house and territory, and she became an orphan with no home. So she made a pledge to take her revenge on that bastard. After she made that pledge, she was able to enter the Empire's Royal University, where Deculain was a professor with enormous effort. She thinks that even if the other students don't know, she does that Deculain's spell interpretation skill is all a bluff, stemming from her father's achievement, and with that, he ruined a family. She glares at Deculain, wanting to expose his lie and kill him right now. Alas, she needs to hold herself back, because in order to drag him down, she needs to prepare more for a perfect revenge. Meanwhile, Deculain tells the class to be silent, since he is about to begin the lecture. He introduces himself again, saying that he is the head professor of this magic tower and a monarch mage who controls elements. His name is Deculain, the professor teaching this special lecture. He says that those of you here today should already know that in magic there are 3 big attributes and 9 types. The attributes are the origins, the source of magic, elements, materials that make up objects. The types include summoning, spirits, destruction, support, enchantment, manipulation, ductility, bewitchment, and lastly, harmony. As he is giving the lecture, he thinks that this is so much easier than he thought it would be. It's his first ever lecture, and he is unfamiliar with the theory of magic. But even if he's just reading off a script written on paper, he is able to perfectly understand everything. Not only that, but Wu Jin thinks that Deculain's overpowering grace is making everyone focus, and the burdensome traits of interest and eye contact that come from elitism feel natural instead of overpowering to him. He thinks maybe the current Deculian possesses the traits of a good teacher. Further ahead in the lecture, he explains that the use of mana differs depending on where it is stored in the body. Normally, mages store mana in the head, which is the easiest place to imagine spells. Knights store there in the heart and emit it from the blood vessels all over their bodies. Lastly, there is the inner core, which mixes internal and external mana. It is the most universal place for mana storage. He says that the thing he wants to state is simple. He says that hard work is important, but if you're not talented, then you need to choose and focus. He thinks that focus is also something befitting of Deculian. To be honest, he doesn't have amazing talent. His current mana is at 375, where there's also a named mage whose primary mana is at 30,000. Wu Jin says that it's amusing how he's saying something which he should take note of the most. Then he notices the last part of the script. The last part of the script seems strange. Must I read this? He thinks. If it were the original Deculian, he wouldn't have read this sentence. Are there any questions? He asks. After waiting for seconds, he thinks thankfully that there might not be any questions. Suddenly, that girl speaks up. Professor Deculian! Last night, a mysterious spell was discovered in the dormitories. It's assumed to be an act of the devil, but what does Professor Deculian, the genius spell interpreter? Deculian stops her from saying any further. He asks the student whether she is really from the university's magic tower. The girl gets confused. Deculian explains if she is, then it should be second nature for her to state her name and affiliation first before asking the question. Furthermore, he says that he will not answer questions from a child who doesn't know how to follow basic etiquette. Then, as he starts walking near the exit, thinking that he has no choice right now but to walk away, since he just realized that comprehension consumes an enormous amount of mana. He understood the script on the lecture, but it used 1/300 mana, so he doesn't know how much mana will be consumed on a spell he has never seen before. Meanwhile, everyone laughs, seeing the girl getting humiliated. They taunt her, saying that it seems like she wanted to be noticed, but it didn't work. She shouts, telling the professor to wait. She says that right now, the magic tower is refusing to analyze it, saying it's a rumor. If it's the professor, then she thinks that he could figure out the type of magic used. She immediately realizes a spell, requesting the professor to interpret this spell. Just looking at the spell for interpretation almost took all of the remaining mana out of Deculian. The girl says that currently, the several remaining debutantes at the dormitories are analyzing this, but there has been no progress. She tells him, give them a hint. Immediately, Deculian replies that it's a barrier magic. He says that there's no need for any hints. Lastly, he says that it's a bewitchment-type barrier spell, and it seems like someone wanted to trap them before leaving. With this, the side quest, University Lecture, was completed, and Deculian's store point increases by 0.5 points. At the cafeteria of the University Magic Tower, the girl is eating her food, as if she hasn't eaten for a while, cursing Deculian. She was going to expose that Deculian's spell interpretation skill was a lie, with an unknown spell, but he made her out to be an idiot with no manners just because she didn't say her name. She thought she was going to die of embarrassment. According to her, it seems like he was flustered, so he said it was basically a bewitchment spell. Bewitching magic is very difficult magic, and most spells need parameters, but to call that bewitching magic without any parameters isn't common. She remembers that she just brought the unknown spell that was drawn on the dormitory's front door last night. Well, it was quite chaotic at first, but she thinks that its purpose was to increase the freshman's research skills. At that moment, a friend of hers comes from the back, calling her name Epherine. She says that it's about the magic spell on the dorm's front door yesterday. After assuming it's a real barrier and recomposing the spell, it turned out to right, She says it's so cool that they didn't have the nerve to ask that scary professor, but what Ephraim did was really brave. Ephraim asks where that was really a magic barrier. The girl replies, saying that it really is a magic barrier. Don't you think Deculian is truly amazing? There weren't any parameters, but how did he know that it was a bewitchment? She asks. Lastly, she thanks Ephraim, informing her that they are going to write up a report, adding her name in it. She thinks that Deculian was lucky and got it right. She just improved Deculian's reputation for nothing. Undertaking of Elemental Magic is the lecture that Deculian's teaching this semester. She recalls the saying, "Know your enemy and you'll win all your battles." She decides not waver if she is going to keep seeing that annoying guy's face from now on. She again crumbles up the paper, giving a deadly look, telling Deculian to just wait for her, since she is going to expose him soon. Deculian has completed the side quest and his store currency increased by half. He has gotten out of huge trouble. Earlier, when he looks at the skill, his comprehension was activated involuntarily. Just looking at the spell circle with lines tangled within each other was enough to take out all of the mana remaining inside him. He wasn't even able to understand what the spell was. Even if he had twice the mana he has right now, he wouldn't have been able to understand the principles of the spell. However, the situation ended without any trouble. As Deculian is walking in the hallway, he comes face to face with Julie. Kim Woo-jin has seen this face thousands of times through his monitor. Julie greets Deculian and asked, "How has he been?" Woo-jin didn't expect to see her here. She is Deculian's fiancée, and she is a named character that will eventually become the pinnacle of knighthood. I am not sure. Fine, let's say. Deculian says, this to Julie. Julie get a bit angry and says, "You've been fine?" Despite breaking that promise we made a week ago, Woo-jin is confused as he knows nothing about the promise she is talking about. He thinks that it would be better to avoid her, so he tells her that he don't recall anything like that and starts to walk away. Julie stops him and asks if he is going to run away like before. Woo-jin gets that she is Noigona. Let his pass easily. So he starts to think to an excuse that will work. He tells her that he seemed to have forgotten because of the fever he suffered from for a while. Before Woo-jin reincarnated into Deculian's body one night, Julie meets with Deculian and tells to promise her that if he is truthful to himself and confess his pretenses and arrogance to everyone, then she will be with him. Even the world crumbles. But after hearing that Deculian don't remember, she gets disappointed, and at the same time, she gets angry. She tells Deculian that she was wrong, that she trusted him. After that, Julie tells Deculian that he may go. Woo-jin don't know what's going on. He simply leaves without saying anything. Julie's engagement with Deculian was out of convenience. Deculian, a talented mage, and Julie, a talented knight. And with the union of these two, it can only mean good for both politics and bloodlines. The Uclanes and the Freydens, the noble bloodlines. There was no one to object to this marriage. Julie don't want to marry the person she don't love. However, she agreed to this marriage, as this will be good for her household. However, the two households realized that Deculian's talents never existed in the first place. Perhaps he didn't wish to acknowledge it, but he lied to the world by calling himself a genius of analyzing spells and became a professor. After some incident, he stopped putting forth any accomplishments. Despite that, the Uclanes and the Freydens tried to keep it quiet. Julie is sure it was because the two households did not wish to be the topic of gossip. They did not want their flaw exposed to the public. But Julie could not forgive this situation. She was okay with a loveless marriage, but she could not stand the lies. That is her conviction as a knight. However, when Julie tells Deculian to promise her that he will tell everyone the truth, Deculian agreed with her and says that he will do as she says. But as now, Deculian don't even remember the promise. She is heartbroken and in rage. Later, the scene shifts and we can see the Imperial University's magic tower. The Imperial University is the best university in this game, and the magic department is the top of all its departments. You could say that the Korean equivalent of the magic department is Seoul University's medical school, and the Magic Tower is Seoul National University Hospital, a large campus and a garden that's well cared for. It reminds one of an American college campus. Kim Woo-jin and his team members spent all those nights together trying to create this atmosphere. However, Woo-jin thinks that it would have been much nicer if he was in some other person's body experiencing this campus. As he is walking, he sensed that someone is rushing towards him. He uses his elbow to knock the person. The person is Dekuleon's assistant. The assistant falls on the ground and says, "Sorry." He also says that he was in a hurry to see his professor. Dekuleon thought that it was an ambush, but it turns out to be his assistant. He then asked if his name was Zoro. The assistant gets confused and says his name is Alan, not Zoro. Dekuleon gets shocked, and that he must have mistaken. After that, the two of them goes to Dekuleon's office. Alan gives him the list of sponsorships for new mages this year. The Magic Tower is similar to research facilities in the real world, so money is required for the development of magic. The professors of the Magic Tower sponsor the new mages they deem worthy. Dekuleon starts to look at the paper. He sees that the names are shining gold. Woo-jin assumes that it's because of Dekuleon's attributes. Wealthy magnate, type rare description. A born magnate and exceptional financier with an unrivaled intuition for profitable things. The more information is provided, the more accurate your intuition becomes. Another attribute is sharp eyesight. Description: the ability to visually perceive intuition, attributes, mana points, and similar elements. It is primarily used in conjunction with other traits rather than on its own. The shining gold names is due to the combination of wealthy magnate and sharp eyesight. Woo-jin assumes that the figure behind this name will bring money. He checked that only a couple of names shines golden, but among them one shines the brightest. Ephrine Luna, a main named of the game. According to the developers in charge of modeling her, she also lost her father to Dekuleon. After seeing her name, Dekuleon noticed that nobody is support her. Dekuleon asked Alan about this. He tells him that everyone is wary that what Dekuleon will do if they support Luna. Luna has talent that has brought her to the Magic Tower, but she is the enemy of Dekuleon. To be specific, Dekuleon is Luna's enemy. Woo-jin is worried as if he let things play out like in the game he will meet the same ending. Attribute villain's fate description: a villain's fate. The whole world wishes for his death. However, what doesn't kill him makes him stronger. In the game, Dekuleon dies in countless ways. A sword to the heart, a wand to his head, poison in a wine glass, a bomb terrorism. Whatever the method might be, the fact that Dekuleon will die does not change. Now, if Woo-jin wants to live, he has to make a different choice. A choice that the original Dekuleon never would have made. Dekuleon then writes something on a paper and tells Alan to turn these in and borrow a few books he is going to write down right now before going home. As Alan leaves, Dekuleon thinks that he needs a lot of money in order to survive, as a lot of death roots can be overcome with money, and investing in a mage is one way to get money. However, that is not enough. There are countless named in this world who resent Dekuleon. They will try to kill him whenever they get the chance. So in order to survive, what he really needs is a way out. He needs to become stronger. However, Dekuleon's talents are just average. At this rate, Woo-jin can't properly respond to future threats. He can't survive the countless deaths that are yet to come. Though Woo-jin have a thing that's in his favor, it's Dekuleon attributes. Dekuleon can't control all four elements like he boasts, but he definitely has potential in manipulating the earth and fire elements, and the result of combining earth, fire, and metal leads to the formation of Dekuleon's other attribute, which is called the Midas Touch. Midas Touch is unique grade skill. It consumes the user's mana to unlock the potential of a target. Therefore, Decoleon's talents in manipulating metal allows Wu Jin to wield the QI-controlled levitating blades. It sounds grand when you say QI-controlled levitating blades, but it's just simple telekinesis. However, it's definitely not mainstream in this world. Basic manipulation magic. What Wu Jin lack in power can be made up by manipulating the properties of the metal. But to realize all this, one first needs to learn manipulation. Wu Jin, aka Deculeon, is going to need to learn how to manipulate objects. Deculeon takes the basic manipulation magic book and put his hand on the book and uses his comprehension skill. All of his mana is sucked into the book. After that, the contents and spells of basic telekinesis starts to flood directly into Deculeon's head. He is completed exhausted, but he gets how to use telekinesis. Deculeon then uses his telekinesis on a pen and he successfully moves it freely. The whole basic telekinesis magic is printed in his memory, and now he can use telekinesis without a need of spell of cast it. Although this is only the basics, if it's only this much, Deculeon won't reach the level he wants, even with higher-ranking telekinesis. Deculeon is a bit worried and wonders what he should do. He thinks that he will cover his whole body with magic circle. In this world, magic circles get stronger the bigger they get. Then if he understand his body using comprehend, not just his brain, but his heart, his inner core, he will engrave magic circles all over his body to strengthen his telekinesis. Of course, there's a chance that his body gets overloaded or has side effects, but his body has the attribute called Iron Man, which allows his to withstand those side effects. Iron Man. Grade. Unique innate physical abilities and attributes. The potential of the body is of the highest caliber. That's why this is only possible for Deculeon to cover his entire body with magic circles in this world. Deculeon wants to give this idea a try. His current mana level is 800, and that should be enough to perform a small test. He then puts his hand on his chest and forces the mana to flow through his veins. As the mana flows, a frightful pain finds a pain that cannot be compared. One that feels like all the bones in his body are breaking and every muscle is torn. However, Deculeon won't waver. He won't even let out a groan, as that is the elegance required of a noble. Deculeon feel immense pain, but in the end he failed because he lacks mana. But he got something out of it. He now has a magic circles on his shoulder. At the pace he is going, it would take at least 2 weeks to have his whole body covered in magic circle. A month after Deculeon's seminar, the first day of the lecture, Deculeon is absent and he puts a notice board which says, "I, the Professor Deculeon, wish to test your abilities. Bring me any result from this area which is overflowing with elements." The children are confused and gossips about him. After that, Evie's student starts to search for something with elements in it. Luna is there, he is mad, so see how irresponsible Deculeon is. As she is cursing the professor at that time, a blonde girl pushes her and goes away. Luna is about to shout at her, but after seeing her face, she gets shocked. The girl who pushed her is Sylvia von Josephine Illid. Luna seems to know this girl. As she is about to say something, Sylvia just gives a look and leaves. Luna is shocked and wonders if Sylvia really don't recognize her. After that, Luna goes and starts to collect the element, but she can't remove Sylvia's thought from her head. 10 years ago, the Illides, fearing Luna's father and her potential, utilized their troops to surround their manor and threaten them. Luna is mad to see that Sylvia, who was there at that time, didn't even remember her, as she is thinking that she see that her mana is been sucked somewhere. As she looks around to see who is doing that, she see that Sylvia is the one who is sucking all the surroundings' mana. Luna gets up and goes to her and shouts, "Hey, what are you doing right now? Do you realize that you're taking everything that I've gathered?" Even after Luna's shouting, Sylvia ignores her. This made Luna furious. She says, "Hey, why are you pretending like you don't know me, Miss Sylvia?" "That's what I thought. There's no way you don't recognize me after threatening my family and forcing me to drop magic. Are you scared that I've come to steal all your spotlight?" After hearing this, Sylvia tells her that she don't know her. She further says that she only knows her father, that cocky former noble who died. This mad Luna crazy, and she starts to attack Sylvia. Sylvia sees Luna coming, so she uses her magic to defend herself. As the two of them clashes, a huge explosion occurs. The shockwave pushed the other students backwards. After the dust clears, we can see Luna gets through Sylvia's barrier, and she grabs the hair of Sylvia and shout at her, saying to repeat what she just said. Luna is scolding Sylvia. At that time, a vortex is created beside them. The other students are scared to see this. Luna is also confused to see that this vortex is created in the place where her mana and Sylvia's mana clashed. The vortex starts to suck everything in it. The situation is getting worse as this explodes. The metal fragments are going to burst like bullets, and everyone here will die. In a few moments, the vortex explodes. Luna uses her magic to defend herself. But as she can't feel anything, she opens her eyes and sees Deculian in there, and he has stopped all the fragments. Everyone is mesmerized to see that all the fragments are frozen in place. Everyone is in wow. As they are students who are learning magic, they couldn't help but feel the beauty of magic. After the mesmerizing the scene, Deculian frowns and tells everyone to leave. He tells Luna and Sylvia, who has caused a commotion, to stay. Luna is a bit scared as she thinks that she will be expelled. The scene shifts, and we can see Deculian and the chairwoman is sitting together. Professor of Spirit Studies Retlan and Professor of Support Studies Relin comes and greets them. Adeline Segalian. The chairwoman of the Magic Tower apologized to the professor for summoning them on such a short notice. Many other professors come and take their respected seats. They starts to talk who was the one who dared to attack the lady of the Illid house. The professors also praise Deculian that he called for this disciplinary meeting. Deculian gets that the result of this meeting is already confirmed. Everyone is in favor of Sylvia, as her Illid house is very influential. On the other hand, Luna, who is from a fallen noble family, has no power at all. Deculian wants to change the results of this meeting, as he can see the scarlet energy pouring out of Luna. This is only visible to Deculian because of his sharp eyesight, and this scarlet energy shows that villain's fate has manifested. If Deculian can't change the results, his death draws nearer. As the disciplinary meeting starts, Professor starts to scold Luna. They scold her and asked, why did she start the fight? Luna is disheartened. She replies that she can't say. She cries as Deculian is staring at her, and she can't say that Sylvia has insulted her father in front of her enemy. Hearing that Luna can't say the reason, the professor gets angry, and Professor Relin stands up and shouts, "What kind of jest are you pulling? Is it an inferiority complex of yours? You should have remembered the differences in your position and Sylvia's to dare to overlook such a thing." After that, the professor asked Sylvia that happened. She replies that during the class she accidentally destroyed Luna's work, and after that they led on an argument. Listening this, the professor now fully blames Luna and says many bad things to her. For example, "You lowly thing with no name. How dare you? Can't manage your anger." The professor starts to pursue the chairwoman that they should expel her. Luna can't take it anymore, having to hear all sort of rough insults at a mere school disciplinary meeting, all scoldings aimed at her, and there's also nobody who will protect her. She cries and frowns at Deculian. The meeting is coming to an end. The chairwoman is ready to draw the conclusion, but as this meeting is called from Deculian, she asked for his opinion in this matter. As Deculian speaks, Luna think that done now, she will be expelled for sure. But a surprising turn of event occurs. Deculian asked Sylvia if she really has no fault in this matter. Deculian's question shocks everyone in the meeting. Professors asked him what he is saying. Deculian says to Sylvia that she definitely could have prevented that incident, yet she hasn't done so. Deculian then questioned about her abilities. He asked if her abilities is not that great that everyone thinks. Sylvia then apologized, saying that she didn't block the attack as she wants Luna to get into more trouble. Luna is shocked to see that Deculian is talking on her defense. Professor Relin tries to convince Deculian that it's not Sylvia's fault, but Deculian tells him that if he thinks about the context, it's actually his fault that he wasn't present at the class. Luna is confused to see that Deculian is even going against the professors to defend her. The chairwoman then stops everyone and says that children are supposed to grow while fighting. She then declares that no disciplinary action will be taken and tells Luna and Sylvia to head back. Luna can't understand the thing that Deculian saved her from expulsion. The Deculian she used to know would not do this. Rather, he would want her to be expelled. The Professor Relin also butters Deculian, saying that he also thinks the best for his students. As Deculian is about to leave, Luna stops him and says that she has a question. Luna wants to ask Deculian if he remembers her father who worked and suffered underneath him for his entire life before taking his own life. Deculian turns around and looks at Luna. He knows what Luna is about to ask. Luna wants to know if Deculian knows her father that died under him. She is also scared to ask him about this, as if Deculian remembers her family, he would rescind the verdict to save himself. But on the other hand, if he don't remember her father, that will make Luna more heartbroken. Deculian sees that Luna is in trouble. He tells her that she don't need to ask anything. He remembers it all. He also tells her not to waste her potential on things of the past. Saying this, he left. Luna wonders if Deculian helped her because he feels some sense of responsibility, or if he just helped her out of pity. However, she feels relief to know that Deculian still remembers her family, and that's enough for now. After this scene ended, Deculian overcomes a death variable and received 2 store currency. The scene shifts, and we can see Sylvia and his dad. Gilteon is on a car. Sylvia seems upset, so her father asked her what happened. As Sylvia is silent, he tells her not to worry about Luna. It is Ture that she is talented, by she missed her window. 10 years ago, on the day the aptitude exam for entering the academy was held, Sylvia met Luna for the first time. After running the mana test, the mage gets shocked to see that both of them have the qualities to be a archmage, pinnacle of the magic world, eternal. A being on a level even the emperor cannot touch. Those who rise to that level are called archmages and have their names engraved across the history of the continent. However, according to tradition, only 3 people may be archmages in one era. It does not matter what their type or specialty is. That is the unchanging rule of mages. At the time, aside from Demerkin's seat, 2 were empty. However, one of them was likely designated for Adeline, the Magic Tower's chairwoman. In other words, Sylvia, heir to the Illid family, and Luna, whose family was a collateral of their must compete for the remaining seat. Sylvia could tell without her father explaining it to her explicitly. That day, she knew the real reason the Illides stomped over Luna's family was solely because of her. It was in order to make her the archmage instead of Ephorine Luna. Sylvia also wishes to become one, but Luna's words are bugging in her head. Her father tells her that she don't need to worry about that girl, but she must. He wary of Deculian, as he's not that simple of a man. He may be stumped now, but he was called a genius when he was young. He could soar high out of the blue for all they know. Sylvia already knew that Professor Deculian is talented, as he was the one who saw through her trap. At that moment, she undoubtedly made Luan's mana vanish. She set up a trap so that when it come into contact with Luna's mana, it would explode. The larger the incident, the more trouble she would have been in. But Deculian saw through her plan immediately, even though she already checked if there were any signs of magical observation happening within the room. Yet he still made them compromise. instead of saying that it was Sylvia's doing. His attitude was like, "I know everything, so go along with May." It was a threat she had no choice but to accept. She thought he was simply an arrogant man with talents that are slightly above average. But after this incident, she wonders what kind of man Deculian is. A few days later at Deculian's manor, we can see Deculian is getting ready. He tells his driver to go down and start the car. He is coming. After a while, he gets on his fancy car and starts to go on a social event. While he is sitting, he thinks that he made a correct choice of supporting Luna, as this removes a death variable and he also gains 2 store currency. He never would have expected the debutante who asked the question to be Luna, but she was most likely hostile toward Deculian then. However, Sylvia might hold a grudge against him over what happened, but he had no choice but to put out the fire on his shoe. That aside, regarding social events, he would prefer to avoid them. However, he can't let an opportunity to gain more store currency slip past him. Side quest: attend the Flower of the New Year event. Reward will be 0.5 store currency. Deculian needs at least 5 store currency to access the shop, so he should check out any named characters at the event. After a long drive, Deculian reached at the site of the event. As he enters the hall, the receptionist welcomes him. Deculian looks around and sees that many high-ranking nobles are here, and he is seeing many named people he is familiar with, especially Helm, whom he modeled himself. As he is roaming around, a noble sees and shouts his name and says that his child is taking his class. This garbs all the nobles' attention towards him. Everyone is eager to talk to him. At that moment, a name caught Deculian's attention. He gets desperate to look for this person named Ganesha. As getting acquainted with her, who will have an important turning point in the story among even adventurers, would be the greatest thing he could do today. Deculian. Search for Ganesha, but couldn't find her. Ganesha is in the 2nd floor. She stares at Deculian from up there. Ganesha is an adventurer and the 5th strongest character in the early story. After searching whole floor at last, Deculian found Ganesha, who is wearing a adventurer outfit. He walking quickly towards her, but Helm stops him. Helm von Garion Rewind, Imperial Exclusive Mage, rank, Monarch, 4th highest rank. He greets Deculian and asked him how his research is going. He also says that he is concerned about him as per the rumors he has heard. Deculian is confused. He asked what is he referring to. Nothing much. Just that your research hasn't progressed in the last 3 years, and that there are those doubting your ability, Helm says. Deculian gets that he is taunting him. This guy was Deculian's peer in university. They were once close, but after losing the head professor position to Deculian, he began to explicitly hold a grudge of jealousy against Deculian. Perhaps the original Deculian might be bothered, but these provocations seem pointless to me. It's not like what he's saying is wrong, since the rumors Helm is referring to are the truth. As Helm is lecturing him, Deculian sees that Ganesha is gone. He gets tensed as he has lost her after all the trouble he has gone through searching her. Deculian gets mad, gets closer to Helm and tells him to shut up his rotten mouth. Hearing this, Helm gets confused. Deculian leaves and starts to find Ganesha. As if he can't get acquainted with her in this party, his plan of coming here will be ruined. After a while, Deculian comes to the balcony and gets surprised to see Ganesha is there. Ganesha asked him if he was looking for her. Deculian is a bit confused as he can't get if Deculian and Ganesha were already acquainted. Deculian then tells her that he simply got lost. Ganesha laughs and tells him to stop joking as she already know he was looking for her, since he has something to say. She also says sorry to Deculian about the mission back then. She also says that she gave back the advance and the cancellation fee, so can he let it go just this once? Listening, this Wu Jin gets that Ganesha and Deculian are already acquainted. Ganesha again apologizes for not being able to bring a child talented in magic like he said. She says that she couldn't bring the child as she got attached to them. Woo Jin was wondering what she was talking about, but it seems Dekulian was going to repeat it. His attempt to compensate for his own shortcomings by using a talented child. Ganesha then asked Dekulian that until when he will keep living like that. Before Woo Jin possessed Dekulian's body, he accepted the sweet talk of those who were of no help, destroyed the trust around him, and hurt many for his own fame. Dekulian lines on the railing and tells Ganesha that he is going to live differently now. Ganesha gets confused and says that she didn't expect this reaction, as she thought that he is trying to kill her. Woo Jin gets that Dekulian was digging his own grave by trying to kill Ganesha, who has the top-class fighting ability at this point. Woo Jin don't know about the original Dekulian, but Ganesha is a named who could kill someone with a single strand of her hair. Her attributes are invincible body and master of all martial arts. She is a fighter and adventurer who has reached the physical peak because Woo Jin possessed him. Dekulian probably just couldn't send an assassin after Ganesha. If he had, she would have already died. It's a bit different from what Woo Jin thought, but he has already accomplished his goal for this social gathering. Making connections. There's no further reason to stay here. Dekulian then tells Ganesha that he is going to head back, so don't worry needlessly. Ganesha then asked him if there is not going to be any assassination or death. Dekulian says that that's classless and leaves without looking back. As he walks away, a notification appears, which says that he has escaped a death variable and gets 1 store currency. Dekulian gets sacred to see that a simple conversation would have killed him. He gets that he can't be at ease anywhere here. The scene shifts, and we can see Rayleigh, who is Julie's relative and an adventurer debutante, 12th highest rank. Julie is also at the event. She is sad, as she didn't want to come here. Rayleigh is talking to Julie. She asked her that how is her relation going to with Dekulian. Julie's face turns grim. She asked Rayleigh what she means. Rayleigh says that she has heard rumors and is worried about her. Julie recalls the past event and says that it's not going well. As she says this, Dekulian comes there. He gives a look at her and starts to leave. Everyone is shocked to see that Dekulian, who used to love social meeting, is leaving so early. Since Dekulian left the social gathering earlier than usual that day, there were talks that he did so because of disharmony with Julie, but there was no way Kim Woo Jin would know this. The event ended, and the side quest is complete. Dekulian gets 0.5 store currency, and his current store currency is 4.5. 1 week has passed since then. Dekulian attended the social event, Flower of the New Year. During that time, other than his daily memorization and basic telekinesis training, he felt that his stamina was lacking. So he began working out. The reason being that he almost died after doing something crazy. A few days ago, he desired greater strength after meeting Ganesha the other day. So he engraved fire control in addition to his existing telekinesis engravement to strengthen his metal manipulation. If he were a normal mage, he would have died. He guesses that he did manage to withstand it because of the Iron Man attribute. The purpose of this was an upgrade by way of implanting the core of magic inside telekinesis. This method would reduce the amount of time needed to learn magic, but in exchange, it's incredibly dangerous. After realizing the intense strain it would put on his body, he decided that he needs to train his body. As a result, he developed a morning routine. Presently, it's already his time to go to work. At his office, he is informed that a statement has arrived from the Magic Tower, and the sender is the Magic Tower Qualification of Professor Committee. The letter goes like these. We are informing you of an audit hearing scheduled in 6 months regarding the advancements in the research you are currently doing, Head Professor Dekulian. Until then, we would like you to please prepare the relevant documents. Woo Jin thinks that if an audit hearing is being held, then it likely means that Dekulian's research has been at a standstill long before he possessed his body. he perceives that this is an unfavorable situation for him. The Deculian inside the game was always a professor. It may be that a precondition of the quest is being a professor, so the moment he loses this title, it would be equivalent to losing all hope of returning. As such, he will have to find something or anything in Deculian's laboratory. Upon entering the laboratory, he sees that it's in a total mess. It looks like nobody's been in here for a long time. If Deculian had come and gone, there's no way the laboratory would be this much of a mess. Then, he notices the heap of trash in particular, which looks unnatural to him. Is it hiding something? He thinks. He doesn't know who's to blame, but there would be no better way to stop Deculian. He finds it, as a relief that he managed to learn telekinetic manipulation. While seeing the book, it looks like the researcher encrypted all of his research results so they wouldn't be stolen. But it's useless to Deculian, since he now has comprehension skill. He uses the skill on the research notebook. He says that this golden light is blindingly bright, and it seems that person's research was simply incredible. What he can see through the combined usage of wealthy magnate and sharp eyesight is only this brilliant light. However, he notices that this research is incomplete. It's torn and there are empty spots. Even the logic in this part is completely incorrect. Despite that, this research was great enough for wealthy magnate to react. Then, he sees the childhood photo of Epherine Luna with her father whose face can't be seen. Wu Jin perceives that it seems that while Epherine's father was working as Deculian's researcher, he made a desperate attempt to hide this, and it's clear that because of Deculian, Epherine has lived a brutal life. He says that he will complete this research using comprehension, and if he manages to complete this research paper that way, he will add Epherine Luna's name on this paper as a co-author. But of course he needs accomplishments as well, so he can't put only her name on it. The scene changes to the university on-campus cafe named Light and Coffee. Julia, a commoner, speaks up. She says that they, the commoners, should stick together. There are only 30 commoners in this class, so if they don't work together at least, they'll end up suffering for it one day. She asks Luna whether she agrees to the thing being said. Luna thinks that she also used to be a noble, though. Well, for now it's fine, and she can forget about fulfilling a noble's duty. She doesn't even have a residence or land, so what kind of noble she is, she wonders. Julia insists Luna to be with them, and another girl, on behalf of everybody there, makes Luna the representative of the commoners, since she was a victim of Sylvia, too. Another person brings up the fact that if they want to be in a club, they will need permission from a supervising professor, and he doesn't think the professors would like them meeting together like this. Julia says that it's the biggest they need to overcome. Then, what about Professor Raylan? She asks. A boy replies that Professor Raylan is famous for sucking up to that fat noble. They speak about Professor Carmel, whose name can't be mentioned here because that professor immediately turns away at the sight of commoners. At that moment, a person speaks of Professor Deculian, although knowing that he will also not give the sign. Meanwhile, Luna is shamelessly looking at the strawberry with a drooling face. She wonders when they are going to eat it. Julia jumps off upon hearing Deculian's name. She wants Luna to ask Professor Deculian on behalf of all of them. Luna's face grew pale while hearing the suggestion. A boy says that if they think about it, Deculian is pretty fair because he looks down on everyone, nobles and commoners alike. Julia says that since Luna was saved by the professor, that means maybe she has caught his eyes. That's why she suggests that Luna should be the one asking for the signature. Luan replies that it's nothing like that, and she doesn't see the professor as great as a person. She doesn't like that the mood is shifting in such a weird way since she doesn't want to have to get involved with Deculian. She decides to run away while telling Julia that she can't do it. She says that if she does it, it'll just end up having the opposite effect. Julia successfully catches Luna, but she suddenly stops, looking ahead as if she has seen a ghost. Luna looks forward and sees that it's Professor Decollane telling her to move. After bumping into Decollane, she notices that her friend Julia has already hid herself. She sees that the professor is walking forward. She gathers up all the courage to tell Decollane that she wants to make a club and she needs his signature for it. Moreover, she says that she won't anu him at all. She was just worried since Professor doesn't seem to approve of clubs with peasants. She kindly asks for the signature, while thinking that she doesn't want to get involved with Decollane, but Julia is right, saying that it's a given that the other professors won't cooperate with them, so rather than be bothered all the time by others on this matter, they decided to give this a try. Decollane takes the paper and signs it, telling her to send the details of the club later in his office. He gives the paper to Luna after signing it. Luna accepts it, while making a confused countenance. She is surprised to see that Professor Decollane really signed it. He just signed it? The Decollane? She finds it unfathomable. Julia comes running, appreciating Luna for her bravery again. She also didn't expect Decollane to sign it, but why? Just like back at the Disciplinary Committee. Why is he being nice to me? Luna thinks. After some time, Decollane starts today's lecture by saying that today's lesson is on the understanding of pure elements. As they already know, elements are the building basis of all magic. However, there are still many mages who do not understand the differences between categorical magic and pure elements. Meanwhile, inside the classroom, Luna is still thinking about the event that happened earlier today. She wonders whether Decollane is acting nice to her because of the guilt or sympathy, perhaps. She blames him by saying that he drove her father to death. Even if he's nice to her now, it seems only fake to her. She thinks that if Decollane truly feels that he did wrong, then he should reveal his true self to the world and repent. Julia speaks up, asking, is everything okay with Luna, since she has that terrible look on her face. She tells Luna not to concern herself over those guys who sat beside her talking nonsense. She says that they don't know how to do anything other than running their mouths. Luna wonders what Julia is talking about, so she looks beside her. She sees that the nobles are cursing her, telling her gross. She laughs in her mind, thinking that she really made herself a common enemy of the nobles after that incident, despite the fact that she is a noble herself. She tells Julia that she is doing just fine, and since those guys are always like that, they should just focus on the lecture. Luna also notices that Decollane's lectures are different that she heard of. Further ahead in the lecture, Decollane says that the magic circles they have used until now also holds a reasoning in each stroke. This ignition spell can change color just by adding 2 strokes to the circle. That is because these 2 strokes decide the color of the flames. He is not just saying it, he is also simultaneously doing the practical. He announces that today they are going to learn about flowing fire, Ephrine. Luna's thoughts were not incorrect. Originally, Decollane's lectures were just a way for him to boast using his position as a professor. The lectures now from Kim Woojin were beautiful reenactments using mana, creative explanations of elite understanding. This came as a shock to all the debutantes who were in the lecture, as well as to Sylvia, who had lost the joy of learning because of her genius talents. Decollane says, as they all know, that this magic circle he is showing now is for summoning water. However, if they combine this with the fire magic circle, it becomes like this. Flowing fire, a fire flowing like water. Everyone attending the lecture was astonished, and Sylvia didn't even expect that Decollane's lectures were so theoretical. Sylvia explains that most mages who are called geniuses use their intuition to cast spells, so theory to them is more like a mold. If all mages prioritized theory, all magic would be the same in a mold. It makes sense. If someone focuses too much on theory, there is not enough time to learn magic. Trying to understand all magic through theory is very inefficient and gets in the way of training. This is the paradox of magic. In order to become an elite, one should have good intuition, but elites cannot explain intuition. According to her, for someone like Deculayan, whose genius is being questioned by the public at the moment, to teach such a theory-focused lesson, it's practically impossible. After the lecture ended at the Magic Tower dorm, Luna says the lecture that was completely different from the rumors. She has never focused so hard on a lecture before. She is about to enter her room, but then she sees that the noble girl's stupid pranks haven't stopped yet, and it's gotten worse ever since that happening with Sylvia. Then she notices a sponsorship certificate. She smiles, saying that she almost fell for this one because for her, there is no way this is real. No one would sponsor her when she is hated by both the Illid household and Deculayan. She says that this is good, actually, since she can report this for being false and get a reward. After some moment, she comes out of the magical administration office, trembling and sweating. Previously, inside the office, she got to know that the seal in the document isn't fake. Instead, it is real. She felt for the very first time, after her father passed away, she pinches herself, trying to wake up if it was a dream. Then she looks around to see whether anyone has seen her, acting mad like this. After some time, she goes inside her room and starts packing an emergency suitcase in case anything happens to her. She wonders what will happen if people realize that she has 100,000 elne, which is equal to 100 million won. She realizes that she shouldn't have gone to the magical administration office because that staff member had a weird look, too. She says that maybe that manager is also after her money. Then she hurts her head, bumping into the table due to anxiety of getting so much money. It hurts, but amidst all, she is genuinely happy that he hasn't woken up from the dream. She says that finally, someone has noticed her talents, while crying tears of joy. Lastly, she says that since the world is still kind, she should get it together and try a bit harder.